Because I'm going to have to stage halfway through the maneuver. Well, not even halfway. After 9 seconds, I'm going to have to stage. Twice, in fact. Or just once now. 2, 1, and stage. Stage. There we go. Woo! There we go! Here is our, I was going to say Venetian probe. Our Evian probe. You go, buddy. A little shy on the stability, but hopefully you're alright. So any second now, our orbit will break, and we'll be on an escape velocity. Boom! And coming in over here to encounter Eve at some point. There it is. There's our encounter. We will indeed encounter Eve in 240 days. And we could tune, no, I'm not going to tune now, not until we escape the sphere of influence of Kerbal. Let me do a quick save here. And then we'll go ahead and fast forward. And then we'll see about making an adjustment. Now, we are going to have to resupply our guys before this probe arrives at Eve. So, we're going to have to plan that next mission. That's a really radial escape, yeah. I know, my burn was in a shitty spot. Again, you can... I'm sure, you know, if I followed the directions, like, there's probably a good guide somewhere on your optimal escape. But, this just goes to show you that as long as you're willing to sacrifice another, you know, couple hundred delta V, it's not that hard to plan the encounter. Still don't know why the maneuver node editor, or the maneuver planner, wasn't able to narrow down something a little bit more optimized. There we go. Have we officially escaped? Yes. And we can even science. Transmit. Transmit. There's all the solar science. Nice. Okay. So, what I can do is I can click focus view on Eve, and I'll see exactly where we come in. But we're so far away, any adjustment now, all the rounding errors and stuff would probably be an issue. Although, I suppose there's something to be said about making sure that we're not just barely grazing by. If I go and turn... Do I not have a connection? Oh, all the satellites must be eclipsed. There it is. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Because there are definitely some long-range satellites in here. The LR Comsats. So either I can't see them, or they can't get a connection to the KSC. No, see? They're pointing at me, I'm pointing at them. I think it's a glitch. Hang on. Let me quick save. Go back to the KSC, come back out. I've seen this before. They're pointing at me, I'm pointing at them. Unless they don't have a signal to the ground station because of something. Antenna's too weak? No, because the cones are working out. Like we can see. Right, the lines are there. And look, here. I'm using the same antennas I used to communicate. I've got one pointing to Eve, and one pointing to Duna over there. That's the sun probe. That's not the one I want. I mean, unless I goofed and used the wrong antenna, but no. Here, let's check the sun probe. I think it's just we had to pop out to the space center and go back. Because I used the antenna that said, you know, to nearby planets. It's got like a giga range, which is this same thing as the Sun probe here, the Reflectron KR8, and it's clearly in range. And I think that's all it is. I think it's a glitch. So we're going to switch to the Eve crash probe. Still says it's got nothing. Wait, that is the wrong dish. No, KR8. Range of 18 gigs, pointing to Kerbin. Is it possible that my long-range satellites are not pointing towards active ship, but we're hard-locked? Might be, in which case it's easy to fix. Yeah, the cone area is never too small when pointing at something. Although, hold on, that might be it. The KR8 has a very small cone, and it's just pointing towards Kerbin specifically, not towards the satellites. As a result, because we're still so close to Kerbin, and it's just pointing to the middle of Kerbin, there might be only a tiny window where satellites through it. As we get further away, there's going to be a very big chance that a satellite will be in there. I think that's it. It's too whisper thin over here. That's the only problem. Because my long-range comsats... active vessel. Yeah, this one's too close. And we can actually see the cone here, right? This is the cone I'm sending, and yeah, it's only covering that much. But by the time we're further away, like if you take a look at the Sun probe, which is this one here, the cone's much bigger. And actually, I think it was specifically pointing towards the mission control as well. So we'll have intermittent signal for now, but it'll get better later. I could have packed 2 antennas on here, one short range and wide, but that would have been a waste. So we don't have to worry about that bad boy yet. Let's take a moment and maybe figure out... We've got a limited amount of time. We're not going to be able to necessarily launch another mission. All the tech is done upgrading. That's good. So as I say, we could figure out what our resupply mission is going to look like. Because we're going to be launching a resupply mission before we arrive at Eve. So yeah, our signal is going to be fine. Right now, it'll only have a signal part of the time when there's a satellite actually in the cone. But as we get further away, the cone's going to get bigger. By the time we get to Eve, it's going to be huge. We'll have a connection the whole time. It's going to be okay. Ooh, Mark 5 Scout Command Pod. Ruggerized 2-man pod with integrated avionics system, ideal for colony dropships. Oof. This is part of the UKS thing. I mean, it's just a different type of thing. It's got some containment for life support, but they all do. And it looks cool. Looks really cool. We don't need that, though. What we don't need only right now is a core. And under colonization. So, there's a system. It's actually like a fairly complex little chain. You need a few things working together. So we have this agricultural module, for example. Usable on its own as a low-efficiency starter module, or combined with larger MKS aeroponics module for greater efficiency. Now, some of these are for space. I guess it's UKS. Some of these are for space and some aren't. Colony hub, neat. Radio components. I guess MK is on the ground. It's got an antenna and a one-man science lab. Interesting. Auxiliary control module. No space for a full command pod. Basic flight controls and instrumentation for a single Kerbal. That's a tiny little command pod. Attachment point, airlock. Habitation module. All the comforts of home in a convenient inflatable package, converts organics into supplies and collects mulch. It can work standalone at 50% efficiency or in conjunction with large modules. Yeah, which efficiency is a whole other system. So, people can live in here, and yet turns organics into supplies. Which I think in this case will be food. Yeah. Takes in organics, electric charge, and machinery, and outputs food, water, oxygen, and recyclables. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's this chain, and I think these get inflated too. What do they look like inflated? Boop. Like, that's what's amazing about this UKS stuff. You send a tiny little package. So 4 Kerbals can live in there, and it'll turn organics into actual food, water, oxygen. And then we generate organics in the agricultural module. Like this. Let me just expand it so that we can look at it. Bam! How fucking sweet is that? So this uses wastewater, carbon dioxide, electric charge, and machinery, and outputs organics. So this takes in CO2. It doesn't put out oxygen directly, but if you route it through this other one, then you get oxygen out of it. In fact, this takes in 10.66 CO2 per hour and puts out, well, how much organics? 1.62. This one takes in 2.16 to produce more oxygen. So we really want 2 agricultures to overkill for the habitation. Now, it's got a crew capacity of 4. I assume if you meet all of its inputs, that's going to be enough to supply enough food, water, and oxygen for 4 people, although I don't know that for sure. What else we got? Combat Zerg, thanks for the resub, and a donation from Battle Hunter. You have to remember the science from Eve Crash Probe wasn't transmitted. Have to retry sending it when your probe connects to the Kerbal again. Thank you very much for that reminder. That is true. Alright, we got expando tubes for connecting things together. Colony tube. Combines things together. Yeah, these landing modules, which are damn cool and badass. I think, first of all, we want to design this in the spaceplane hangar. Right over here. And then it'll be sideways. Organics must include poo, too. I think that's the mulch or something that people generate. So, it's great, because we can start with these, which are fantastic. Don't need another academy. So these include RCS, although no real thrusters, which we really need to be able to land on one of those planets. So if we stick like a fuel tank in the middle, apparently not this size. Oh wait, hold on, no. I can choose what these things contain. Right! So we can have one of them have liquid fuel and oxidizer. Put in... I don't know, like, how do I want this arranged? Another storage module? How does this look deployed? I can't deploy it here. Because we want a place to store supplies, mulch, and organics. Not to mention machinery, recyclables, which we need for some of the process as well. Need to ship that all here. And yeah, right now it can't contain much. But, hang on. Let's, if I go and grab another one of these, and then just stick a, I don't know, probe core in there. Some random probe core. And start these out deployed. Greenhouse 1. And just run a simulate. I think we can span that middle place and it'll store a bunch of stuff. The colony stuff is 100% sustainable without water substrate mining ops. Okay. So yeah, we could just send a big package of supplies. Vroom. Now it's got capacity for 4,600 units of stuff. Vroom. Okay. I've never done anything like this. Do we have any of the mining stuff? I don't think we do. drill. Surface sampler. Which is a new experiment. But no, we don't. So, for the sake of argument, I'm starting to think that all we should do is just send them some raw supplies. So, freight. That's not what I want. Container tank. It's like unlimited water. That's a ridiculous amount. Is there any smaller? I guess there's these. Ew. They're not actually smaller. 30k. Supposed to 20. They're actually bigger. Well, I guess I could use the smaller diameter ones. But if we did do something like this, so we've got one with water. Oh! You can't actually contain food or oxygen. Really? You can carry organics, though. I mean, I guess we can send you a big package of organics and then convert that into other things. What does this one do? Substrate, minerals, carbonite, rock parts, metals. Just supplies, but that's not a real thing. As is. Fertilizer. Alright, well, I guess what we're going to do is just grab the supplies rings, comma large, and just string a bunch of those guys together. And how much if I throw a hitchhiker on here? 2 of those. So if we had 8 Kerbals, you could feed them for 2,000 days. Okay, I'd say that's a pretty good resupply pod. What do you guys think? And then liquid fuel. Liquid fuel. You got a probe core. Which one's the front? That's the front. Something like that. And then we go center of mass, center of thrust, and throw some engines on there. And get them nice and balanced. And by having fuel on both sides, it'll be nice and balanced, unlike some of our previous things. Turn on symmetry. That technically covers the RCS. Actually, just having this right in the middle, where the center of mass is. There we go. How come the center of mass is back there? That doesn't make any sense to me. If anything, the center of mass should be more forward, shouldn't it? Whatever. It doesn't have a reaction wheel. Because I don't think these have them. No. So, I mean, we've got the thrusters. I suppose we may as well just throw in a little monopropellant tank. Now, as we burn monopropellant, our center of mass will change slightly. That looks pretty much aligned. Oh. Go back in symmetry mode, please. There, pretty centered. KOS. So we can use our landing script. Okay. So that's going to be the module that lands. Although, we've got to adjust the direction. We need like a mechjeb bit sort of randomly put in here so that we can say control from there, so it'll actually face straight up. And we need, well, actually, this is going to be communicating with the ground station. It should have plenty of range. It definitely doesn't need a dish. We might want to put in a big omnidirectional antenna to ensure that we can control it when it's in like the vicinity of the moon by just communicating with the nearby satellites. So let's do that. Now, there's no batteries on this bit. There's a bit of batteries in there. I guess, I mean, we need batteries to go along the way, and then, therefore, we may as well land the batteries. No reason to just ditch them in space, right? And, likewise, we're going to need some solar panels just to get there. So we may as well have them on this part. They're never going to need to retract. Actually, that might be a little shaded. Like this. We don't need much in the way of solar panels. Just enough to get there. And be self-sustaining. That's going to be fine. Enough battery to last in the shade a little bit of solar panel to keep itself charged along the way to the moon or MINMUS. We'll send the same mission to both. I think that's good. Oh, you know what else we could do? Is we could send new science experiments that we didn't have access to on the moon or MINMUS yet. Now, I don't actually know which ones are there, although I can probably figure out some. Like, this is new. I guess we'll put them on top, because our Kerbals can just jump on top of here pretty easily to access. No, I don't think we've got a Gorsat on the ground. Definitely no Gravioli on the ground. Let me move this antenna. That's not the antenna. That way the Kerbal can land sort of right in the middle. I guess we'll use the surface sampler. Now, do I need it somewhere that makes sense? I have no idea. Tell you what, we'll put a drill on the belly so it can drill downwards. Because I guess that makes sense. Soil sample system, I don't know if we have that. I can check, I suppose, but that sounds like work and smartness. So we'll just throw it on there. Okay, I think those are all the new science experiments. So it's not actually called Greenhouse Once. This is more like resupply 1. Okay. I think that's our lander. I guess what I can do is, what is it called? The port. We can launch with some connector ports on here, which will make our life a little simpler. There we go, one on each side. Make it easy to integrate into our existing structure. Center of weight is still pretty much on the center of thrust. Plus, we do have all the RCS to help balance that out. Now, if I'm landing on, let's say this is going to be the MINMUS reload one, which actually has to come first. Thrust weight is very high. I mean, we do want a fair amount of kick, but I think we can bring it down to around there, and that's going to be perfectly maneuverable. And actually, it has so much delta V. Like, we don't need any other stage. This can maneuver everything in space. Like, again, like our in-space stats are just crazy. Who's that? CK Hawk! Don't forget to readjust your center of gravity. It's pretty much there, though. Yeah, it's hard to say because we're not in like an orthographic vision mode or orthogonal, but it's pretty lined up.